Starmer's social media crackdown. Hold on to your hashtags, folks. Keir Starmer's taking aim at social media. He's promising a crackdown, especially on platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter. Why? He says they're like digital Wild West saloons, overflowing with misinformation and hate speech. Starmer's solution: dedicated social media police, their job to patrol the digital frontier and take down the worst offenders. Now, some folks are cheering. They say it's about time someone cleaned up this digital mess. Others, they're calling it censorship, a slippery slope to silencing dissent. One thing's for sure, this is going to be a bumpy ride. So who are these social media police anyway? They'd be a specialized unit, trained to spot and remove harmful content. Think hate speech, incitement to violence, the works. They'd be the judges, juries, and digital executioners of the online world. Stephen Parkinson, a former advisor to Theresa May, has weighed in. He's particularly concerned about the potential for inciting racial hatred online. His argument: it's not enough to just remove the offensive content. Those who spread it need to be held accountable. But here's the kicker. Who decides what's harmful? What about satire, political commentary? The line between free speech and hate speech can get blurry. This new force will need a microscope and a whole lot of judgment. This is where things get tricky. On one hand, no one wants to see hate speech flourish. We need to protect vulnerable groups from online abuse. On the other hand, free speech is the cornerstone of a democratic society. We can't just silence dissenting voices, even if we find them offensive. Starmer's walking a tightrope. He needs to find a balance between protecting people online and upholding the right to free expression. One wrong step, and he could tumble into the abyss of censorship. Critics are already crying foul. They say this is just a way to silence opposition and control the narrative. And then there's the issue of republishing offensive content. Starmer's proposal suggests that even sharing something deemed harmful could land you in hot water. This raises a whole bunch of questions. What about journalists reporting on hate speech? What about academics studying it? The devil, as always, is in the details. Section 4. The root of the problem: poverty, inequality, and social unrest. Let's be real for a minute. Social media didn't invent hate speech. It didn't create poverty or inequality. It's just a mirror reflecting the ugliness that already exists in our society. So, while regulating online content is important, it's like putting a band-aid on a gaping wound. Critics argue that Starmer's focus on social media is a distraction from the real issues. They say he should be tackling the root causes of social unrest: poverty, lack of opportunity, discrimination. They argue that investing in education, healthcare, and social programs would be far more effective in creating a just and equitable society. They have a point. If people feel heard, if they have a fair shot at a decent life, they're less likely to be drawn to extremist views. Ignoring these underlying issues is like trying to put out a fire by blowing on the smoke. Section 5. Is Starmer's approach justified or authoritarian? So is Starmer a hero or a villain in this digital drama? Is he a defender of the vulnerable or a wannabe dictator? The answer, like most things in life, is complicated. There's no denying that social media can be a breeding ground for hate and misinformation. Something needs to be done to protect people from online abuse. But handing over so much power to a social media police force is a risky move. It opens the door to censorship and the suppression of dissenting voices. The key is finding that elusive balance, protecting people from harm without stifling free speech. Ultimately, it's up to us, the citizens, to hold our leaders accountable. We need to make sure that any regulations are implemented fairly and transparently. We need to ensure that our right to free expression is protected, even as we strive to create a safer and more respectful online world. Because in the digital age, the fight for freedom of speech is more important than ever, and that, my friends, is our responsibility.